Hello, ladies. We are going to be starting a short series of videos over the next few weeks because we are ramping up to Mission Sunday at First Colony. And so I just wanted to take a few videos interviewing ladies who have served at different mission points that where we operate. So this first one is going to be featuring Haiti, our mission point in Tomaso, Haiti, specifically with the organization Hope for Haiti's Children. You can see Sandy's shirt there.
One of my original t-shirts.
Yeah, I had one, but I couldn't find my t-shirt, so there you go. And so Sandy Besso has been just a driving force for our church's involvement in Haiti through the organization of Hope for Haiti's Children. So we're just going to have a little interview today and learn more about that mission point. So welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Hi, Missy.
Hi. We need coffee with all of this.
Yes,
too.
we do.
So just tell us about Hope for Haiti's Children.
Well, thank you for asking. I wanted to first just read the mission statement, just so people would have an understanding that might not know. The mission of Hope for Haiti's Children is to demonstrate Christian compassion to poverty-bound Haitian children and their families, providing opportunities for these children to become leaders in their homes, churches, and communities.
And so do you feel like you've seen that happening?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
How many years have you gone?
My first trip was in 2001, so I'm coming up on 20 years.
So you've gotten to see some kids that were originally served start to serve within the organization now,
Oh,
too.
Absolutely. I've seen many of the children actually who've grown up in the orphanages become leaders as well. When I first started going, we had about 200 children in the sponsorship program, and for those of you who don't know, Hope for Haiti's Children provides opportunities for people in the United States to sponsor children in Haiti to get to go to school who would not normally have an opportunity to go to school. The government of Haiti does not provide opportunity for every child in Haiti to go to school, and so that's one of the main goals of Hope for Haiti's Children is to provide education opportunities.
You know, you go, when you're invited to a mission trip, you go not really even knowing what you're getting yourself into, but I really did see, I served as an interviewer. They have an annual medical clinic that they do every year so that every child that's sponsored, somebody's eyeballs are on that child and give a specific report about how they're doing. And I served as an interviewer then, so I worked with a translator and got information about the kids. And hearing about their living conditions, their lives are very primitive. I mean, they really do have some rough living conditions, and there's just not infrastructure in their country to make it better. So really the services that we're providing to those kids it really is hope. Like, I got it, why it would be called Hope for Haiti's Children. So, you know, I could speak about some of the things that I was kind of concerned about before I went, but what would you say are some of the fears that you see? Because Sandy's taken a lot of trips over there. She's taken a lot of people over there. So what are some of the fears that people express when they're about to go over there?
You know, and people don't always just tell me straight away what they're nervous about, but I believe that for Americans, especially, you know, people that I know, we're afraid to be uncomfortable. We're afraid to lose control of our schedules, our environment. It's hard to visualize where you're going to sleep at night. Are you going to have running water? Are you going to get sick? There's so many things that come to mind when people think about taking a trip to a third world country. I remember a friend of mine that I took, and about 3 days before our trip, I ran over to her house to take some supplies, and she had not taken a shower in a week because she was practicing. And I was like, you're going to get to take a shower. You're going to get to take a hot shower. You're going to have a clean bed to sleep in. You're going to have a private bathroom. Our trips are fairly... our environment's as controlled as it can be when we sleep at night. The food that we eat, even though it's prepared by locals, they go to extreme extents to keep us healthy and well. Some discomfort is just part of the package. A lot of discomfort that people feel actually is seeing the poverty for the first time. It is hard. It's hard to, especially when you come back, you spend at least a week just kind of sad that humans on this planet have to live in such primitive conditions, like you say. And that is probably one of the largest, the emotional discomfort that people feel. And you can't really prepare for it. And yet, when you come home, you realize how insignificant many of your own problems are. And one of my favorite things to say when I get home is that, man, I love my job. Man, I love my car. Man, I love my house and everything about it, because it's so far beyond what the average Haitian will ever even imagine.
What do you think are the benefits of sending people to go to Haiti as opposed to just people sending money to support the work that's going on over there? I know when I would go, a lot of times I would think, what in the world difference can I make by going out to this country? It feels like a drop of water in the ocean.
Yeah, and that's a good question. And in some ways I will tell you that the benefit is more for you than it is for the people there. Although, I mean, they do receive a lot, just knowing that people care enough to leave our comfort zone and be with them. And even as many times as I've been, over 40 times, I still pray a lot before I go, because I know that the unexpected is always going to happen, and that I am going to be tested in some ways, my comfort level. And so, but I also always look back and see that's where I saw God at work, and that's when I saw Him show us things that I could never have seen had I stayed in Sugar Land. The whole thing, everything about being with the Haitian people just changes your perspective.
Another trip I went, and one of my sons back home had lost his shoes, and so he's texting. I'm in Haiti. He's texting me, asking me where this pair of shoes is. Well, I don't know. We had brought donated shoes in one of the bags. I thought, yeah, we might have packed my son's shoes in the donated bag, so we're looking.
I remember that.
You remember? Yeah. We were looking for this particular pair of shoes among all of these donated shoes, and I realized as I was talking about it that our Haitian friends probably thought my son had no shoes at home, like his shoes had gotten sent, like as if, and I didn't even want to. I was thinking, oh my goodness, he has like 5 pair of shoes. Mm-hmm. This is, and then it turned out he found them in his car. So we had never packed his shoes to begin with.
And he had a car.
He had a car. Like, my son has a car where his extra shoes were. That kind of thing takes on a whole new level of significance when you go someplace like Haiti. Yet, like Sandy was saying, they are joyful.
I wanted to also speak a minute about people who have taken a trip when they really weren't sure this is what they could do. And I have never talked to anybody who wasn't blessed 50 times over by making the decision to step out, in their uncomfort zone. And there's something that happens when you put your faith in practice, when you decide, okay, I am going to go serve, even though I don't know what to expect. I don't know if I'm going to sleep well, eat well, if I'll be scared. There's something about putting your faith in practice that just comes back many, many times over. That there's a lot of dimensions to why the trips are so powerful, all the prayer that goes into it, but stepping out in faith and serving a people not like you, that just creates a gift that you can't manufacture.
I mean, like there was one year we went on a trip.
Mm-hmm.
We called ourselves the Cat 5 team.
Cat 5. Mm-hmm.
Because the week that we were scheduled to fly out there, a Category 5 hurricane hit Haiti.
That was bad.
And of course, we had to, we had to decide.
We decided at 3 o'clock the morning we were supposed to leave. Our flight was due to leave at 6 a.m. We were leaving. I know Janelle was going to pick me up at 3 in the morning, and I called her about, I think, 10 of 3. I said, okay, we're done.
We were able to reschedule our flights and move it over and go a week and a half later. And what's funny to me is at that point on the Hope for Haiti's Children website, we became first responders. Like I was like, I'm a first responder now, because we were going in and our whole mission focus shifted. Mm-hmm. We do lots of food distribution out there.
It became disaster relief immediately. I mean, we were going to meet our kids and to serve the poor, but not at this level. And we saw such disaster, and so it became a great time. And for the Haitians, for a bunch of American women to show up in Haiti right after a disaster gave them so much joy. They
weren't forgotten.
They weren't forgotten.
They knew they weren't forgotten.
And we were coming during a time when anybody else would many people postponed their trips. I feel like I need to say this. I have 20 years of relationships with the staff, and these are people that want desperately to keep us safe. One of the jokes is that they do a happy dance when they put us back on the flight because they are so careful with us. They will not put us in dangerous situations. They will avoid any parts of the city that might even possibly, have problems where it would impact us. They are not going to put us in jeopardy.
Okay, so here's another question. How would you, Sandy, encourage people who would like to be involved with Hope for Haiti, supporting missions, supporting international missions, but maybe they can't go. They can't physically go there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would highly suggest that if you can't go, you can either give to the organization or you can contribute to somebody else's trip. And I'm glad we're talking about this because there's one thing I would suggest. If you send somebody to Haiti on a mission trip, volunteer to pick them up at the airport for the drive home. There are conversations that are had in that trip home, that one, for us it's like an hour. There are conversations that are captured in that hour that are hard to reinvent later, and not like you're inventing them, but it's hard to, you just, everything is so fresh. And so I would say if you can do that, do it. They need to talk about their experiences. You cannot manufacture a mission trip experience in the United States. Yes, you can serve the poor, but when you're going to a third world country and you're serving and you're experiencing God's work and you're seeing things you've never seen before, you have a desperate need to share that, to share those experiences, because they're not just magical, they're life-changing experiences.
So we have, usually for the Hope for Haiti's Children groups, they're usually collecting something that they're going to be taking to, because it's a lot easier to get it to them if you bring it with you on the airplane as opposed to trying to ship it to them. It often doesn't work very well that way. So donating is one thing that you could do.
You can pay for somebody to take an extra bag.
That happened to us one trip, is that if you might have 50 pounds of checked bag that goes with your ticket, and that if you have more than 50 pounds, you have to pay more to upgrade, and you could pay for somebody to do that.
You can upgrade somebody's ticket to first class, and that gives them like 100 plus extra pounds of baggage where they can just fill it full of donations and take.
Yeah, and that extra pound, 100 pounds of something going to Haiti is worth a lot.
Huge, yeah.
If you donated to it, you're part of that trip, and I hope that whoever you donated to will let you know what happened with your donation. There was one trip we were on. When we were going to show the movies, one of the things we were going to do is provide food for people. When they showed up for the movies, we wanted to give a food donation. So we figured out what we were going to need to get what we needed at the market, and it turned out we were about $100 shy of what we had budgeted. Well, lo and behold, one of our ladies on the trip had somebody give her a $100 bill right before she left. And it is so cool to see God at work, to hear these stories. That's one of the things that I think that's neat about being part of the trip. Yes. But the people who donated, they're equally part of the trip. Just because you're not physically going, you're part of the trip too. Anything else you'd want to say about Haiti?
I want to say too, I guess a thought just came to my mind about a friend of mine who for years and years, 12 years, she contributed to our trips. And last year she was able to go for the first time, Vicki Jones. And what, I know she can't even describe the blessing that was for her, but it was so cool for us too to witness her being united with her sponsored child that she had sponsored for 12 years, and the miracle that God did to even make that happen, because it looked like we were not going to get to see her because she couldn't get out of her little village because of some situation. But that comes to my mind because she never had any idea she would end up going to Haiti, and for years she contributed, and she was always so interested in our trips that by the time we went, she knew facts and details about the staff, about children, that very few people can even remember. What a blessing that was for us to get to see her meet her children. And anyway, it was a wonderful story. Trips, obviously we didn't go this year. The medical trip happened in January, right before COVID. Praise God that happened. The trips are pretty much been canceled this year. Next year, please pray that the trips get back on schedule and back on track, and that the Haitians aren't afraid for Americans to come in. Yeah. Pray for Hope for Haiti's Children. If you'd like to, learn more about the organization, they are a 5-star organization. They're highly rated with nonprofits, and if you want to know more, I'd be happy to share that with you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Missy.